pineapple farmers in this area watch the weather and their crops with eagle eyes. This part of the world exports some of the world's biggest amounts of pineapples to virtually all four corners of the globe, and South Africa is seen as a world leader. The 5th International Pineapple Symposium was even held in Port Alfred, confirming the country as a world leader in this sphere. For the drivers, there will be precious little time to admire the crops though. Our preview of the African Heritage Cross Country and Amathole 500 in East London continues after this.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Going the extra mile to get you. And from ABSA. Going off the beaten track to find solutions.
This is our look ahead at round 5 of the ABSA Off-Road Championship and the FIA African Heritage Cross Country and Amathole 500 race in East London in the Eastern Cape. For brothers Henry and Maurice Amathole, the off-road racing scene inevitably led them to a place where they started their own company, and how it has grown since. Amathole is a world record holder for consecutive off-road races finished, and their large sheet metal tooling company in Alberton on the East Rand has given both the Amatholes the freedom to race, and that they do equally well. Their Flying Class D Ryobi Nissan hardbody is a crowd favourite, and they know it.
With my brother, myself and my wife, we run a company called Manrepco. We specialize in tooling for the sheet metal industry, such as guillotine blades and blades to bend sheet metal. And basically any company that would work sheet metal in the whole of Africa would at some stage have used tooling that either was made by us or made for a manufacturer and then shipped to them. So it's started quite small, 10 rand off the dining room table one day. And I ran foul of my then boss, who said that he wouldn't want me to take my leave in one day at a time because I was racing for Toyota at the time. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? He says, no, you must take all 15 days in December. I said, that doesn't suit me. We need to race once a month. And big boxing match, eventually I said to him, listen, you know what, I'm going to start my own company. At least I can go racing when I want to. And that's pretty much how the business started.
Indeed, Amathole started at the tender age of just 15 in a do-it-yourself fashion, if you like.
I bought a Land Rover when I was 15 for 150 bucks. It was a real basket case. It came in a box of parts. And spent a few years putting it back together again to see if I could. And took it down to the coast when it was all running. And it was an epic journey. It took me 2 days to get there and another 2 days to get back. It was probably the worst holiday of my life. I never used it again, but I never got rid of it either. I just parked it in the garden under a tree. And now that there's a bit more time, I've actually now built a little garage for it with underfloor heating, tiled floors, all the stuff to make life easy. And the plan is that with my son now we're going to restore it and get it back to a working condition. But now I want to do it a little better than I did when I was younger. So fortunately it's still there, and we didn't make too many mistakes when we put it together the first time. So it's not going to be a lot of work, but just take a bit of time.
And how did their world record in their old Pajero come about? Was it just consistency?
Yeah, I think that's probably been a product of having no budget, so we had to be very careful with the car, and we drove it well within its capabilities. We had a good car in the Pajero. Without backing from the factory, no help whatsoever. We ran the whole team out of our back pocket, basically. Help from Mastercraft and Ryobi, so that kept things running nicely. And we were careful, you know, we obviously just made sure that we didn't break anything. And that gave us 21 consecutive finishes, which I hear later is a world record actually in most forms of motorsport, not just in off-road. And then we gave it up at a year ago, exactly, to take a sabbatical because the business was growing at a fairly phenomenal rate. And we decided, listen, you know what, that still pays for the bread. So we had to concentrate on the business for a year, and it's fine, it's doing very well. And then Nissan phoned us and said, hey guys, we've still got a Class D Bucky ex-Alfie Cox that's basically looking for a home. Would we be prepared to race it? And we said, we'd be the greatest of pleasure. So we parked the Pajero, got started with a Nissan, but it's been a bit of a learning curve because the two vehicles are, obviously the Nissan's a lot more competitive, she's faster, but it needed a lot of maintenance, you know, to get it back up to racing speed again.
How did they find their feet in the newer, faster car? And how did it go between the two brothers then?
What we did was we did one of the regionals just to make sure that we were right on the money in terms of pace and talking to each other again, and yeah, it was rusty. Yeah? It was lefts and rights were getting mixed up, and gear changes being missed. But it certainly wasn't anything that slowed us down much. You know, it was one of those things. You yell at each other a little bit in the cab, you know. But we found that in every single race this year, we've been, except for Sun City, we've been right on the money. In fact, we've been. The first race, we were right in front. I mean, we were like 15 minutes ahead of the rest of the pack in Class D when the bearings let go on the motor. So I find the pace is there. There's no problem as far as that's concerned. The vehicle's quick enough. It's just been a few reliability issues. Then we had a little coming together at Schluri, which meant we had to rebuild the back end of the car. So it's been circumstances rather than any particular reason that we haven't been up front. I still believe we have a good shot at getting the championship if we just get it together now. And it's just been one of those things, you know, a bit of bad luck here and a bit of an oops there. And you look again and then you've got 3 DNFs, which for us was an absolute shocker.
The 3 did not finish as despite. Tell us about your BMW experience in the daunting Dakar Rally.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. When I was invited by BMW Germany, or the BMW Dakar team, to join them, and I've done 2 Dakars with them, driving their service vehicle, their service truck. And whenever something is needed to be done in the team or something, and you come up with a suggestion, they'll look at you and they say, "Oh, are you from Africa? What do you guys in Africa know?" You know, they have this real superior attitude in Europe, and especially if you come from Africa, they call you bush cats. You know, what do you know? And it'll be interesting now, because now we're actually going to race head to head with the same team that I work for when we do Dakar. And it should make for a good party after the event, but I think during the event there's going to be a lot of chirping, and that should be a lot of fun, I think.
And you'll see all of that right here on Supersport. But what are the Zamattans' chances of winning?
Our chances of winning it are very, very slim. But we're not there to win it. What we're there to do is to see how far off the pace we really are. Our aim, Maurice and myself, at some stage is to do the Dakar in a vehicle, and we'll obviously be facing the same teams, Ivor Tollefson, Mark Corbett, the BMW teams, and it always gives you a good indication of whether a standard car is so much slower than a purpose-built race car. I don't think it is. I don't think there's going to be as much difference as people think. But it's going to be fun. For us, it's just to see how far off the pace are we, or are we right on the money.
One team that has been right on the money has been Nissan, who'll be looking for their 5th win in a row in the production vehicle category this season on the Amathole.